Hello there friends and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Frances and I'm very excited because today I'm participating in my very first Celebrating Collections, People, and Pins collaboration thing. So if you're new and you don't know what this is or you don't follow them, Valerie from the Singer Family Adventures every month hosts this collaboration called Celebrating Collections, People, and Pins. I'm trying to make sure that I get this correctly. Yeah, Celebrating Collections, Peoples, and Pins, and every single month has a different theme, and various different Disney YouTubers and Disney pin tubers get to share their collections and their favorite pins under this like umbrella. So for March it's underrated characters, so I'm very excited to show bits and pieces of my collection of characters that I think are underrated and pins that I have for underrated characters, as well as just see everyone else that's participating. I love pins. We know that I talk about it non-stop, so I'm so excited to see what people came up with, what their underrated characters are, etc. So without further ado, I pulled them off of my boards and hopefully I'm going to remember where they go, but I have use of my like little board left. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 15 pins, or I think I double counted it. So I have 15 pins to share with you guys. I'll give you a brief overview here and then we'll just kind of walk through it, but I am very excited. So first we're going to start off with the tiniest pin of this set and hopefully the camera picks it up. This is from a recent Tiny Kingdom collection. If you can get him, I don't think the camera's going to pick him up. It is Waldo from Muppet Vision 3D. He's one of two Muppets that I pulled from this because I feel like Waldo's only in Muppet Vision 3D, so he's not a very well-known Muppet. He's not even a Muppet. He's 3D and he's animated. But I feel like there's not a lot of merchandise or pins for him. So when you see Muppet pins, you see Kermit, you see Fozzie, you see Gonzo, you see Piggy, you see a couple of the other ones, but they're not as well known, so you're not going to see as much merchandise unless it has to do with like Hollywood Studios pins. So that's like one of 3 pins that I have with Waldo on it. So I pulled him. Next one is I had to pull Country Bear for this because I love the Country Bears and that's one of my big collections. But I didn't want to pull a well-known Country Bear. So the Bonnets, which I have peeking over here, the Bonnets, Big Al, and Henry, and Trixie are almost always, or not Trixie, Teddy Bear are, Teddy Bear, Bonnets, Henry, and Big Al, I can't talk today clearly, are almost always pulled. But for 2019 or 2020 Hidden Mickey, Hidden Disney, whatever it is, they did Country Bears in Walt Disney World and Liverlips McGraw was on the pin, and this is probably like one of 3 or 4 Liverlips McGraw pins that existed. So I pulled him because I felt like I needed to have Country Bear representation in this. Next is my second Muppet pin because I wanted to pick someone from this Vinylmation set that I knew I hadn't seen other pins for, and I've never seen another Dr. Teeth pin except for this Vinylmation pin. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. If you have a Dr. Teeth pin that's not this one, like message me because I want to see what it is and I want the pin. I love the Electric Mayhem and I love Dr. Teeth and I love the entire band. I was almost pull Janice for this one, but I was like, nah, Dr. Teeth is slightly more well known. Next, this is gonna be such a random pin, but this came from a Disney Store booster pack that I bought on sale when I was a cast member that came out, I want to say Valentine's Day of 2019. It was an Oh My Disney set, and it's a Kronk pin, and I feel like he's kind of underrated. Like he gets some love, but I feel like Emperor's New Groove as a whole is very underrated, and this just says, hey, what's cooking? And this entire set was like so random. Like I have a Hercules pin that says like swipe right material, but I feel like Hercules is not like underrated at all. There's enough merch for him and I have plenty of Hercules pins. Not enough Kronk ones, but like this entire set was just interesting. There are a lot of Hocus Pocus pins now since there's like a resurgence of love, but I feel like a couple years ago you couldn't find that many Hocus Pocus pins, but you can rarely find pins that are not the 3 sisters. So Mary, Winifred, and Sarah are almost always the pins you find with Hocus Pocus on it. Very rarely are you gonna find other stuff. But I love Hocus Pocus, so I decided to pull Binks off of it from the limited release pack that came out last Halloween that was like Hocus Pocus themed. I feel like Binks is an underrated character. Like how much stuff do you see of Binks? So we pulled Binks. Next, I don't know this character's name, and I think this might be the only pin that they are on. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is the older gentleman that's blind in Rogue One that just like walks across the battlefield and is like, I am one with the Force is with me. I am one with the Force is with me. That guy, I don't remember his name, but he's on this pin and I got it at the Disney store when I worked there. And I was like, we're gonna show him because we have your Vaders, we have your Leia, we have your Kylo, we have your BB-8, your Baby Yoda, like plethora of pins with them. But like Star Wars pins, how many of this guy on? I think this might be the only pin that that guy is on. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So I pulled him. Next, you see these two characters. I'm gonna show them together. A lot with Donald, but you don't see them by themselves, except in this construction set from Coronado Springs from a couple years ago. So if you were staying at Coronado Springs, you got these pins as like a pardon our pixie dust thing. And it is Jose and Panchito from the Three Caballeros. I feel like they're just very underrated. Like Donald gets his time to shine in the Fab Five, but like, do you really know about the Three Caballeros without Donald? Like, can you just see them? So I pulled those guys because I feel like they are very, very underrated. Next, I feel like these two characters were super hyped when this movie came out, and you don't see anything about them now, but I love them. It's Ducky and Bunny from Toy Story 4, and this one says stick with us, and this is one of a couple pins that I have of Ducky and Bunny, but like I am obsessed with them. Like Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, I had that entire initial like trailer for Toy Story 4 memorized when I worked at the Disney store, where there was like to infinity and your mom, to Calamity and a blonde, like that entire minute and a half I had memorized, and I loved that sketch. Not in the movie at all, but I think it's freaking amazing. And that is why I love Ducky and Bunny. And I feel like they're underrated because no one talks about them. You got your Woody, you got your Buzz. Anyone really talking about Ducky and Bunny? How much merchandise they got? Next, I feel like this is not an underrated movie, but an underrated character. And I really just wanted to show a pin off from his collection because I just finished it. I finished the Kite Tales collection. I might link it down below, but like a couple videos ago, I opened up a couple boxes and I was able to finish at a pin trading event. And it's just like a really pretty Rafiki pin. I'm not by any means like a huge Lion King stan or a huge like Rafiki stan, but I feel like there's not a lot of pins or merchandise with him on it. And I just thought this entire set was really, really pretty, so I had to pick like what I thought was the most underrated character in that. It was between him and Shere Khan. But Shere Khan I feel like pops up in a lot more merchandise, like villains merchandise. So it was like Rafiki it is. Next, there is a Hercules appearance on here. I know I just mentioned that I wasn't going to do any Hercules, but this is one of the muses, and I feel like the muses don't get merchandise, especially pins. And this is, I want to say this muse's name is Talia. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a 90s baby, but sometimes the characters get me, and it's like a Shop Disney like open edition pin, and it's like, honey, you mean Honkules? So it's one of the muses. I think they're super underrated, so I pulled this pin the second that I was like gonna be a part of the swap. I was like, yeah. Okay, so the next pin has to do with the shirt, and you guys can argue with me. I know this has nothing to do with attractions, but there are characters in these attractions and they have names. Like Fud Rapper is right here and he has a name, so if I can name them, they count as characters, right? That should be the argument. So at the D23 event this year, the Destination D23 event, they had this limited edition pin, and I ran to the store the second that they announced this because as a like 4-year-old, I was obsessed with Food Rocks. Like it went Kitchen Cabaret, Food Rocks, and then Soarin' in that spot in the Lands Pavilion. And I never saw Kitchen Cabaret, but like 5-year-old me loved Food Rocks. It's one of my favorite things. So when I saw this pin, I had to get it. So it's a Battle of the Bands WDI pin, and it has Kitchen Cabaret on one side and Food Rocks on the other. And I feel like if I can name the Food Rocks characters, this should totally count as underrated characters, because like this is the second Food Rocks pin that I own, and I feel like I have both in existence. I have the open edition pin from when it existed in like 2000, and this one. And I can name Fud Rappers on there. We have the Trash People, we have the Peach Boys. I think that's valid. If I can name at least a character in that attraction, it counts. We're coming down to the last couple of pins. Next, I think Atlantis, The Lost Empire is literally one of the most underrated movies ever. I think it's a visually stunning movie. I had a Kita Barbie doll when I was like 6 and I loved it. So I decided to pull a Kita pin, and this is from the Emblems series of 2020. I didn't collect the entire thing. I literally just bought Kita. But we have the Heart of Atlantis is in the front, and then it's Kita. And then on the front it says, in times of danger, the crystal will choose a host. was it the Crystal of Atlantis? I might have gotten it wrong. Of royal blood to protect the people. So it's like her getting, it spins, and it's like her getting like sucked up. And to go along with that, I have Milo Thatch, because I had to do both of them. And this one came from the 20th anniversary merchandise that came out last year. So there was like 3 or 4 pins that were like limited edition, open edition in the parks. That's where this one comes from. And then last but not least is another one of the most underrated movies in my opinion, and that is Brother Bear. Brother Bear is a visually stunning movie that does not get enough love and has music that slaps because it was written by Phil Collins. So I have Kenyai and Coda as bears. This was an open edition set that came out like a couple months ago in the parks. So I have both of them, and I feel like they're super underrated. I also want to throw in there, I don't have any pins from this movie, but I also think it is super underrated, and I loved it as a kid. It's Meet the Robinsons. I don't own any Meet the Robinsons pins, but they're also on my list of super underrated movies. Brother Bear, Atlantis, Meet the Robinsons, super underrated. But anyway, this was like the 15 or so pins I pulled for the underrated characters prompt. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below what your favorite underrated character is and which pin that I pulled you liked. I cannot wait to do more of these collaborations, and thank you to Val from Singer Family Adventures for hosting this and letting me be a part of it. I'm super grateful and super excited to talk about pins as well as see what other people pulled. I hope y'all are staying happy, healthy, and safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.
And you never know what kind of figment you may come up with. Oh, here's my favorite.